Tick, tock, tick, tock. Our life is filled up of moments and seconds and hours and days and years and many times. Oh, wait, there I said it, time. Yeah, we become engrossed with it. It's how we run our days. It's how we run our lives. It's how we run our business. Am I right? Do you agree? I know it's something that we wish we had more of. And unfortunately, it's also something that we wish away unexpectedly. Now, this episode isn't about time in the clock sense, but rather in the patience sense. They always say if you want more patience, don't pray for it because you will be gifted the opportunity to experience it. I am excited for you to meet a dear friend of mine who is living proof that some of the best marketing is all about timing and networking. Let's dive in. Hey, I'm Stephanie Feger, and Empower is my middle name. Well, not really, but it should be. I believe that empowered people empower people, and I'm obsessed with empowering you, the nonfiction author, with impactful marketing strategies and tactics to help you take your important message and share it with those who desperately need it and want it and will buy it. As the owner and chief strategist of the Empower PR Group and the author of several books myself, I have merged my love for reading books and writing books and marketing books to help nonfiction authors with laser-focused strategies and tactics to write books that sell, promote their books to those who need and want them most, and build meaningful businesses from empowering messages. I want you to think of this as your one-stop shop for marketing insights from an author who has been there, done that, and understands exactly where you are. So get your pens ready because I'm ready to empower you. This is the Empowered Author Podcast. Jen, I feel like always wanted you on this podcast for so many reasons, and I never knew when the paths would come. As someone who I know one day might think the book journey is an interesting one yourself, I'm excited though to have you be on today for a whole different reason, and a whole reason just of importance of connection and listening and letting life lead. And I'm going to say like life with a capital L. You can call life whatever you want, right? You can call it the universe, you can call it God, whatever. But I think you and I are living proof of that. So welcome to the Empowered Author Podcast.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here today.
You are so welcome. So Jen, tell us a little bit about yourself. I know you, I know all about you, but those listening might not know you quite yet. So tell us a little bit about you and what you do.
Well, I am a women's ministry leader out at the Southeast Christian Church, the Southwest campus, over off of Dixie Highway in Louisville. If you are around there at all.
In Louisville. See, this is proof we're in the same area because you say Louisville in the
Yeah.
back of our throats.
But I'm thinking like, hey, people are probably listening to this. They're not in Louisville, you know?
Do you know that this podcast reaches across like every continent? People have
That's
listened to it
awesome.
across every continent. It's really cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that is so
it's
cool.
fun.
But at least they know how to say it right now, right?
Yes.
So, but I've been in ministry for about 25 years, and I just love being able to, serve people, serve my community. And again, in ministry like that, I do get to use God as an opportunity to just love on
Mhm.
people well, for sure.
So I know you as a friend.
Mm-hmm.
I also know you as kind of in your work mold, your work
Yeah,
hat,
yeah,
and everywhere in between. And what you just said on how you love to love on people and serve people, I think that's just innate in your DNA and how you just interact with people. And you just are blessed to have the opportunity to be in a position where you can do that for others in our community.
yeah.
I think it's really awesome. And I do see that. And so it's really cool when you like hear that that's what you were supposed to do and you've done it, that there's that
Right
synergy.
here, yeah.
Yeah, it's wonderful. Well, when I think back of, my honestly, my whole life, but definitely the last several years of authorship,
Mm-hmm.
there's a few times in my journey that I'll never forget.
Mm-hmm.
Like the day that I got pulled over on the side of the road when my book came out because I was having a mental breakdown. Like I will always remember that relationship. Thank heavens I knew that police officer. He helped me. Or, the day I first opened the box of books and cried because I knew I accomplished something big. Yeah, but I will never forget when you and I met at the
Yeah,
magical Starbucks.
at the magical Starbucks. It's one of my favorite stories.
It is. It is. So we always, when we get the chance to tell this story, I love that we can share it both from each of our perspectives. So I'm going to
Mhm.
just paint the picture for a hot minute, and then I
Okay.
want you to share your side of the story because it's just too cool. Right before
Okay.
we press record, I told you there's a part of the story that I don't think you know, and I'm going to add it.
Okay.
So when my book came out, which those of you all listening, Color Today Pretty is the book we're talking about, there are definitely beautiful Christian undertones and overtones built throughout the book. And I felt really called that my book needed to be connected with one of the largest churches in the area, which is
Mhm.
Southeast Christian. And that happens to be the church that
Mhm.
Jen works at. I had reached out, as like I said, I don't know if you know this part. I had reached
Yeah.
out and had a great conversation with people who were a part of the magazine or the newspaper at Southeast. I had been in
Mhm.
conversations with the bookstore, and I had done like all this stuff. I'm like, this book just could make a difference. And then it just felt like I was pushing, right? Like I was trying too hard
Mhm.
to fit the round peg in a square hole.
Mhm.
And I had
Yeah.
this moment where I sat back and I thought, if I really believe that God has a thread here, then I'm going to let God take over. And so I did. I just, in all of it, quite frankly, I just let go and said, you know what? You're going to open doors for me.
Mhm.
And instead of focusing on book sales, I started focusing on people connections. Like who do
Mhm.
I know that could benefit from this? It's a shift
Yeah.
from thinking about, oh, well, people need to buy my book to the shift of how can my book help somebody? And there was this
Yeah.
lady that a friend of mine recommended that I was supposed to meet with, and we had been trying to meet for like 6 months. Like it had been a long
Mhm.
time. This particular
Mhm.
day, my daughter was sick. And now this is pre-COVID, Jen. So in post-COVID world, we would have probably never had this meeting. You and I
Right.
might never
Of
have been
course.
friends.
Yeah.
But pre-COVID, Lindy's little coughs were nothing, allergies or something, pink eye, pick something that
Mhm.
was, or she had carried her allergies in her eye. But that morning I had this meeting with this other author that I'm like, I know we've had to reschedule like 5 times. We cannot make it work. I've got to go. So I looked at Lindy. She was young at the time. And I said, get
Mhm.
a sweater, girl. We're going to work. She got all excited in her little dress and she got a little sweater put on and she brought her little tablet, or I think I brought the iPad or something so she could play. And as we were going to
Mhm.
Starbucks, now I call this a magical Starbucks now because lots of things have happened. But the majority of my book was actually written while I was in that Starbucks. So it's been magical for the
Well,
book journey from the beginning.
yeah.
Yeah. So I go to this meeting and I had a couple of other meetings, and Lindy was so good. She's just sitting there and life's all great. And I realize I have no idea what this person that I'm supposed to meet looks like. And she doesn't know what I look like. And so I sent her a message on Facebook Messenger, an email or something, and said, hey, I think you're also here too. I think you were meeting someone and I'm meeting someone, and I'm done with my meetings. No rush. I've got plenty to do, but I'm the woman sitting with the cute little girl and you can't miss me. And again, Starbucks isn't very big. Okay, Jen, I pressed
Mhm.
that. The moment I pressed it, this is my perspective, then I want to know yours. Then, from my perspective, I press send and I'm typing away, and there's this table kind of in my peripheral vision of two women, and they both turn and look at
Mhm.
me and wave, and then one picks up a copy of my book and points at it with like this inquisitive look, like, "Is this you?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that's
Mhm.
me." And those moments where you have out of body and you're thinking and doing at the same. So I'm thinking, how does this woman have my book? Oh, I guess she went and bought one. And I'm like, no, she asked me to bring a copy. She didn't buy a copy of my book. Who is this other person?
Mhm.
I'm so confused. Okay, so
Yeah.
pause. You pick up.
Well, I was meeting another author that day at Starbucks because I was speaking with her about the possibility of her coming to speak on her book at a retreat that we were planning for the fall. And so this was summer. I want to say it
Hmm.
was like June or
I think
July,
so.
summer.
Hmm.
And so, we were kind of getting ahead of the game. And, she had written a book about friendship and it's a women's retreat. So friendship always sticks. But this particular retreat was called Beautiful Things. And, I had been looking some stuff up online and I had run across your book, which kind of fit in the idea of it. And I was like, you know what? I ordered the book and started reading through it, and it was just uplifting and encouraging. So I brought it along with me that day to my meeting with Elizabeth. And so we were sitting across from each other and we had met and talked. And the more that I had talked to her, I had started to think that what she had was wonderful, but that the timing felt off.
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And we're really, we absolutely, ask the Lord to lead
Hmm.
us whenever we're in front of a group of women, and we want to, encourage them and just give them the right thing. We know that can only come through, right, the Spirit of the Lord. And so, as I'm meeting with Elizabeth, I have your book out, and so I said, I don't know if you know, this is a local author too. Her name is Stephanie. I don't know, and I just kind of picked up your book and I held it in front of her, and she goes, "Wait a minute, I'm getting ready to meet her here." And about that time again, it was like, something weird was happening in the air or whatever. And I just look over at you and I'm holding the book and I catch your eye, you catch mine. So I'm doing the pointing like, is this you? And so it's funny because sweet Elizabeth, I think quickly disappeared. She didn't. I know you guys
Yeah.
went ahead and met very quickly, and her and I finished ours up very
Mhm.
quickly. And then I just kind of waited back and hung back in the wings until, we could finish a conversation.
Was just cool because that moment, it was like, wait, okay, so many authors, there's this weird feeling, Jen, when somebody has your book and you didn't give it to them. There's just this, oh my gosh, you mean somebody's reading my book?
Yeah,
That
yeah,
was really cool. Yeah, that was really cool.
yeah,
But
yeah,
the other thing,
yeah,
you're
yeah.
exactly right. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I've been praying about how can I serve this community, and I was trying too hard, and I
Mhm.
realized I needed to wait, and then you had, God had worked through that moment. And anyways, so yes, so you come over and you're like, "Hi, my name's Jennifer. I'm the women's ministry leader at South." And I'm just like sitting there going, "Oh my gosh, are you kidding?" Right? So then I'm like, I said that we need to chat. Yeah. And I'm sitting like the whole time, I so much wanted to meet this other author, but I really just wanted to chat with you. And
Yeah,
I had the meeting with Elizabeth, and you actually said, I have time. I'll stick around. I'm like, yes, you will. I'm going to make that work. It's going to be great. And so
yeah.
it just felt like it just felt perfect. And from that point, Jen,
Mhm.
like magic just continued to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, we had a whole
Mhm.
retreat. Talk a little bit about what all we've gotten to do together. It's been fun.
Well, I mean, we have, anytime that I have anything that's going on, kind of creative in a sense, I do think of you. And it is like, we don't talk all the time, but there is this kind of connection and friendship that happened just right off the bat,
Mhm,
where you just know it's supposed to be.
mhm.
And even as we walk along the way, it's like, for now it was this, but it still feels like there's more to come. And
Yes.
that's exciting, just kind of having that connection. But even with that very first retreat, you came and, you had your book, but you're also very gifted in how you gather people and speak into their life. And you had the
Thank you.
opportunity to do that there. They have your book and they read that, but also, a breakout that you did with them that day is forever cemented in their hearts and minds, because we had
Mhm.
kind of talked about kintsugi that day, and about how things broken
Yes.
apart and how that sometimes it's more beautiful when you place it all back together than it was in the first place because of the things that
Mhm.
you went through. And you communicated that so well to the ladies. And then anytime we've had anything else come up, I'm always like, oh, I wonder if Stephanie can come and be a part of this, and our ladies absolutely loved you too.
Oh, your people, they're family, been an adopted part of the family. I love all the ladies, and I love you guys, and I love you and the church and everything. It's beautiful. But let me unpack a couple things because I think
Mhm,
some readers or some authors don't think about their books in this way. The first thing is, if I hadn't gone that day, maybe we would have connected. Like
mhm,
you might have still reached out, maybe.
mhm. Maybe.
Maybe not, I don't know. But I mean, there was no question that, that God was there networking for us. He was connecting the dots, which I think is huge. And so, I always tell people come from a place of yes, right? Like you never know who's 1 degree or 2 degrees away from where you're
Yeah,
supposed to be and how you can really make a difference. The other thing that was awesome, and I just thought it was cool because you said, yeah, so this retreat is about brokenness, and and then you were like, "I just love your book." I'm like, "Oh, I have a
yeah,
chapter called Broken
yeah.
Beautiful." And you're like, "Stop it." I'm like, "Yes, we've got this." And I said, "I actually, for those who have learned or read about my wreath business and know kind of the evolution of how I even got to writing a book, creative therapy has always been just a part of how I can process life. And I love that I've been able to take a section of my book and leverage creative therapy as a way to pull other people in. And I don't think every author thinks about that but that is what is like cemented into the minds of the amazing women
Hmm.
that we
Yeah.
have gotten to pour into.
I think it's so cool to know that there's a message
Hmm.
here. You know what I mean? Whenever someone's writing a book, like there's a message that they want to get out that wants to connect or help someone. And so what I really love when I think about this too is the other author. Her book is still just as necessary and
Hmm.
just as wonderful as it was then. But for us at that time, it wasn't the right timing for it. And I remember calling her back and saying, "Hey, listen, if it's okay, I think I'm going to go in another direction on this retreat with another author who's written something different that seems more timely." And she was so supportive and encouraging about
Yeah.
it too, because she understood kind of that give and take of that I have something and
Hmm.
that when it's the right time, then it will. And she is still in
Yeah.
my back pocket. She's still going to come out with Our Ladies at some point,
Hmm.
but it's just so cool to know that the
Absolutely.
timing is everything. And like you said, just being open, to say yes to something different, maybe.
Yeah, well, and I think you also don't know what your book will do. Literally just hit me just now, Jen.
Yeah.
Her book was on friendship. And look, like that essence of her being like
Hmm.
created
Yeah.
our friendship. How beautiful
Yeah.
and magical is that? I think many authors get hung up on book sales. We need to sell books to make an impact. And I always say, what does success look like to you? What is your why? Take a step back and then reevaluate. Because is it really a book sale? Like it might be.
Hmm.
That maybe is a way, but maybe there's something more. Maybe you can make a bigger impact if someone can spend time with you. Like maybe a speaking engagement or a keynote or a workshop will do that. Or maybe it's about connection. And I really think our relationship or
Hmm.
our story is about connection because all of that, like you couldn't have planned it. Side note, like I wouldn't have believed our story if it wasn't our story. I would say
Yeah.
someone's made it up. I wouldn't believe that it could have really happened, but it did. And I just think it is important to help those of you listening today who may not know what the next right step is.
Mm.
It's to do the next step. If it feels like you're pushing the square peg in a round hole or the whatever, whichever way that goes, if it feels like you're going against the grain, it's maybe because the
Yeah.
timing isn't right. And when the timing is right, maybe that's when
Yeah.
amazing things can
Yeah.
happen. Yeah, I have loved pouring into your ladies. I have loved so much. There's one of the ladies in your group who I
Hmm.
don't know. We'll have to talk offline how active she is. Within the church regularly, but every time I see her, she comes up and holds
Hmm.
me and cries with me and talks about things that my book has done for her. And really, I realize it's not really the book. It's
Hmm.
what experiences I've had that have inspired her. That the book is
Yeah.
just a way to reach other people. And every time I see her, her eyes get all bloodshot. I'm like, "Are you crying again?" And she's like, "I just
There's
love you."
something about that connection
I
that
love
we
you
all
too.
need, and so, yeah, that's
Yeah.
really good. No, it is one of my favorite stories. And I just think,
Yeah.
even as we move forward, like what's next and what does it look like? And, how
Hmm.
other opportunities open up
Hmm.
for us to, serve our communities together through our giftings, whatever that looks like. So
Hmm.
it's good.
I love it. Now, I have one more question to you before we wrap up today. From your perspective, Jen, when you were Googling, what were the things you were thinking and looking for? Like, were you looking for an author to come be a part? Were you looking for a speaker to come and be? I'm just
Mhm.
curious. It's always interesting from the side of the people who have the ability to
Mhm.
help an author or a message extend. What were the types of things you were looking for?
I think I was, I have no idea at the time. You know how Google can be. You can just put almost anything
Uh-huh.
in there.
Rabbit holes.
But I think it was a rabbit hole. You know what I mean? So
Hmm.
I think it wasn't that I was looking for an author or a speaker, or it was more of an experience type of thing, where you just start kind of, one of my favorite things to do is put experiences together kind of for Our Ladies,
You're good at it.
where it's more than just what you're hearing, but you're seeing it. And, I'm very visual, so you can take some things in. So I think I just started kind of Googling, pretty and Louisville and beautiful things, Louisville. And, like and then different things start popping up. And, and the book ended up, and I mean, I literally went to Amazon and just bought it super quick,
You're like, done,
selling it
check.
And not, honestly, Stephanie, I don't think I knew you were from here when I got the book.
No, I don't think you did, because I think you said there's
I
this
didn't even know
author.
that. You know what I mean?
No,
I think
I
that
don't think you did.
later when I opened it up and was like, what? She lives here?
Yeah.
I already had someone else that I was meeting with, and I was already, kind of attached to that idea a little bit. It was, moving forward. But yeah, it just all got shook up for good, and I'm so,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Oh, me too. So that's proof of the power of like having I talk a lot about having a digital presence,
Mhm.
and you have to be visible. People will go looking, and they don't always know to look for the right person or where that is or how to find someone or what have you. So be thinking about what are words that you want to be aligned with.
Mhm.
And you're living proof of that. Our relationship is. Thank you for being on today and sharing this story. This is one, like I said, one of my most favorite stories ever in life, and total proof of magical Starbucks, but also God just working. And if we were talking before we recorded, when you
Yeah.
know what you're supposed to be doing, how the stars align, and that's
Yeah.
truly a beautiful thing. So I'm
Yeah.
just so grateful for
Yeah.
you, Jen.
Thank you. I'm grateful for you too, Stephanie. Excited for what's next. We'll see.
Oh, I know. He's got plans.
Oh, he
He's got
does
plans.
have plans. I'm always glad when he lets me in on what they are.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. The day I met Jen was the day I was reminded that my timing and capital L life's timing isn't always in alignment. And that is okay. Some of the most effective marketing requires you to focus on the things you can own and do and let go of the things you can't. I wanted to speak at this particular church. I had a message that needed to get out, but I couldn't make it happen. So instead, I focused on meeting people and I let time take over. And the church found me instead. When you realize that you aren't in the business of book sales, that is so hard to say out loud, instead you're in the business of message sharing. When that happens, the message drives it all. It wants to get out, and it will, if you let it, on its timing. Now remember, book marketing doesn't have to be something altogether different from what you're already doing on the daily. Who do you need to meet? Who can someone connect you with? If you take the time to schedule those networking opportunities, you will likely see that more doors open for you, your book, and your message. If you'd like some inspiration on how to really dig into networking and relationship marketing, we offer a 1-hour marketing strategy session that's sure to leave you with many, many easy and simple marketing ideas that you can tackle. Visit empowerprgroup.com/marketing strategy session to learn more and snatch a time up for us to chat. Also, if you have found this podcast beneficial in your life, the best gift you could give me is a review. All right, empowered author, you know the drill. I'm a believer that empowered people empower people. I've empowered you. Now it is your turn to empower others.